Good morning. When I was 19, I left my home in London and went off to university in Sheffield. Now, that was a massive step for me because I was going somewhere I didn't know a single person, a city I'd never been to before, except for my interview there. And I was very fearful. I thought everybody would know that I was a year older than most of the other students because I'd failed my A-level English. And, well, the reason I'd failed it is because the teacher who was teaching us taught us the wrong book. So we got to the exam and the book that we'd studied wasn't in our exam. And not only that, it was Charles Dickens's Hard Times, which was so awful, when we should have read George Eliot's Mill on the Floss, which was lovely. But that beside. So I passed my A-level second time around because we read the right books. But I went off to Sheffield thinking everybody would know that I was a failure. And those of you who know me well might know that I'm actually quite shy with new people. I try very hard not to be, but I still am. But then I was painfully shy. I wouldn't speak to people unless they spoke to me first. And I just found the first week at Sheffield very, very difficult because there were all these freshers events and I went to some and I joined some societies, but was really unsure. Then it came to our first week of lectures. And my first lecture was with a young professor, and he did have the title professor, who was possibly just 10 years older than us students. But he was very, very trendy. It was the 1970s. He wore white suits. So, and you know, half the girls were in love with him and half the boys wanted to be him. But he was a professor of literature, which is my absolute favourite. And we had prior knowledge that what play we were going to do. So after introducing himself to us and going around and getting our names, he said to us, right, I just want you to write this down. And he said this line, "Come thick night." And without thinking, I said, oh, which spelling of night? And of course, think about it for a minute, the whole room erupted in like really deep, prolonged laughter. And I shriveled up in a little ball. And then I pretended to be laughing along with them because I thought, it's the only thing you can do. But it haunted me for the rest of my 4 years at university. And even to the point where that same professor was a professor who was my mentor for my dissertation. And every time he saw me from that day onwards, he made a joke of this come thick night. And so much so that it's just embedded in my brain. But what it led me to do was to believe that I was just a klutz. So not only had I failed my A-level the first time, but my very first lecture in uni, I had everybody laughing at me. And what I later realised from some of my friends who later became my friends who were in that group was that it just took all the tension out of the lesson for most of them. And it felt more light-hearted, it felt okay, but it didn't for me. So I went through my 4 years at university thinking I wasn't as clever as anybody else. I wasn't as up to the moment as everybody else. I couldn't do things right, and I was bound to be a failure. And I failed so much that I passed my exams. I got my degree, and I got a very creditable degree. But it took me a very long time to realise that I wasn't getting it right. And it was okay to not get everything right. And I'm still a little bit like that. I'm still not sure that I have to get everything right. But actually, this week I've been reading my word for the day, and it reinforces that we don't have to get it right because we've got Jesus and he gets it right. And when we get it wrong, if it's just a little bit wrong, like asking silly questions like which spelling of night, really, that's okay. And actually you can laugh at it because actually it's very, very funny. And if it had been someone else who'd said it, I think I might have laughed too. But it's okay when we get it really wrong, genuinely wrong, because Jesus is there to love us and forgive us. I was in a church once where the visiting preacher said, if you've ever been asked, do you believe in Jesus? Put your hand up. And as far as I'm aware, everybody in the church put their hand up. And he says, Now, how many of you have asked another person, do you believe in Jesus? And they've said, no. Well, he said, they've got it wrong. He says, and you've got it wrong too. And that's a bit perplexing. And what he said is, try asking this question. Do you know that Jesus believes in you? Because he does. He believes in everybody. And like me getting it wrong with my spelling, like whatever your silly things you get wrong that you hang on to, and I know I'm not the only one who does it. The point is, Jesus believes in you. If it's something bigger that you've got wrong, ask for forgiveness. Be repentant. Say sorry, and you're forgiven. If it's something little you've got wrong, turn around, look at yourself and say, okay, would I have laughed if somebody else had said that? Would I have forgiven somebody else who'd done that? Would I have thought, it's just a little mistake, if somebody else had done that? And then say it to yourself. It's something I'm learning. And actually, sometimes it's really good fun just to look at yourself and laugh and think you're ridiculous. But more importantly, it's important to remember that Jesus believes in you so much he died on a cross. What more belief do any of us need? Have a brilliant, funny and engaging week. God bless. Bye.